So, as I said, I'm LaShondra McCarty. I live in Mississippi, Biloxi. I gave Reverend Ann Parker a shout out because for a while I actually served in her congregation. I also was Regina Rose pastor at First Christian in Gulfport. I'm going to give you a little bit of my background just so you don't feel like I was just dropped out of the sky. Um, I started my discipledom from being a Baptist, actually in Gulfport, and like many. And my first disciples congregation that I was a part of was the Way of Hope Christian Church, which is under the Reverend Dr. Cynthia L. Hill. From there, I was at the South Carolina region with First Christian Columbia with Pastor Torrey. And I was with him through the majority of my seminary time. After that, I took a short-term assignment to Johannesburg to work with our global ministries partner, the United Congregationalist Church of Southern Africa. And when I came back to the States, I actually started a business as well as worked with Reverend Parker. But my business was focusing around social media as well as graphic and web design. I was an associate minister with the Corster Church, but also with Reverend April Johnson for Reconciliation Ministry. I was a ministry associate with Reverend Sakina Hamlin for SURF, which is Southeast Reconciliation Fellowship. As well as doing some work for the regional ministries on the level of helping them with the development of their websites, maintaining their email marketing, and doing social media training. I also was the second designer for Just Women magazine, which was the magazine that was produced by Disciples Women, and have done communications trainings for Disciples Home Mission. So even though I am not working in a ministry context, and for the majority of my ordained clergy life have not been in the congregation, I have touched, discipled them in various ways, and continue to relish in the opportunity to, by doing things like this, whether it's with the National Benevolent Association or on the regional level. So I say all that to say, I am one of you, even though you may rarely see me, I am still engaged with the church and feel like my training, my educational training, other than seminary, was all around media. My undergraduate degree is radio and television production. My master's degree is in digital media production. I hold certifications with Constant Contact and Hootsuite, which are, once email marketing was a social media management tool. So this is where I live. And my cross sections is why I sit before you today. So I know more than I can say in 2 hours. I try. Tanika took one of my training sessions in December, and I felt bad at the end because I felt like I gave them too much information. But my goal is to give you as much as will allow you to get up and be running. If I give you too much, say, okay, can you back that up a little bit? And I will go a little bit slower. I am okay with that. This is for you, so you will set the pace for me, okay? So since I am not in your congregations and I don't know what's happening there, I'm going to open it up to you to tell me what's happening. And what you tell me is going to gauge how we engage the next 3 sessions. I will actually build them around what you tell me your needs are. Is that fair? Fair? Okay, fantastic. So I'm going to share my screen with you. We are going to roll. So my first question for you all, just so I have a level of understanding, is how is your ministry currently using technology? If it's not at all, say not at all, but just give me some nuggets of what you're actually doing. And we will start with Ms. Ruby.
Yes. Hey, how you doing?
I am well.
Well, I would congregation don't use it at all because I don't know. We probably just don't know how to use it.
Okay.
But the reason I got on I put my husband's name down, but really I wanted to kind of just sit and listen to what you got to say because I'm just not learning. I'm new in all this tech knowledge, and I'm just kind of learning. I'm trying to just sit and listen and learn some stuff.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. Next up, we have Mr. David.
I'm unmute there. Well, I was a interim minister at First Christian Church in Little Rock when the pandemic hit, and we March the 8th or whatever year it was, we didn't have face-to-face worship, so we were forced into the digital age, where we started recording sermon and communion, just a couple of people in the sanctuary, and then uploading it to YouTube and sharing it with Facebook. So that was kind of but before that, even we had a website that we kept up to date. You know, it's amazing. A lot of churches had a website with stuff 2 years old, you know. So we're getting ready to put in cameras to have online worship every Sunday and other times. And we need people to understand how to do that well, because I've seen a lot of services online that were pathetic just from, you know, the way it was operated. So.
Mm-hmm. Next up, Ms. Rhodes.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay. Well, we have a website that we do have up and running, and that we have a web developer now that we use, and I push out like all the stuff that the region puts out as far as scripture, you know, the lectionary. We have that pushed out every week, you know, so the lectionary goes out on our website, and it also automatically posts to our Facebook page, which is current. We also have an Instagram account that I try. Instagram is so hard with all the copyright issues. I try to just use with my own pictures, you know, and try and put stuff on Instagram. We have been doing Zoom for Bible studies, and you know, when the pandemic hit, we started using Zoom. We have been doing some Facebook Lives for our sermons for people who can't come in. You know, even though we are meeting in person, there's still some people who would rather meet online. So we're still doing Facebook Live and Zoom for that. And we have had to use YouTube on occasion when we cannot find a minister to preach for us. We'll use a YouTube, something from YouTube, like Reverend Holly Jo Engel from Arkansas, Blytheville, Arkansas. She will upload a sermon to YouTube and let us use that.
Reverend Park.
Well, while we did Facebook Live. That wasn't too successful. Sometimes it would go in and out, so we sort of stopped doing that. We have a Facebook page that our church uses, and this worked out pretty good. And now we're having virtual Bible study every Wednesday night, Zoom.
All right. The Yelets. Would you pronounce your name for me? I don't want to mispronounce your name.
Yellett.
Yelets.
I'm Bobby Yellett, and my husband is sitting in too, because we kind of do this together. Our church has had a Facebook page for quite a while, but we don't know anybody who has access to it as an administrator, so we're not able to keep it up. I have no idea who set it up. We do not have a website. We desperately need one. I don't know how to do that, and we're not really in a financial position to pay somebody. We've done a couple of Zoom Bible studies, and they were fairly successful. During the pandemic, we went to drive-in worship, and we used an FM transmitter, so that was our foray into technology for that.
Awesome.
And every Sunday, I use my laptop I do a PowerPoint with the service with all of the hymns and scriptures, and I illustrate the sermon. And when I have music that's not something that our pianist can handle, I use YouTube videos for that. I think that's everything.
Thank you. Are you still doing the drive-in worship services?
No, the church, the board voted to go back inside and no masks and no social distancing. And as far as they're concerned, COVID doesn't exist. So no, we're not doing drive-in now. I wish we were.
Okay. Next up, thank you, is Round the Bonfire.
Yeah, Round the Bonfire is not my name. I apologize. But I'm the secretary of First Christian in Hammond, Louisiana, Gina Anthon's church. I mentioned her name because I know she's one of the more active members. My name is Karen Williams, and we have a fairly active social media presence. We do use Facebook, and we have also a specific kind of worker group where people in the church can post messages just within that group. And that has been very helpful. We have a newsletter through Constant Contact that we send every week. And we have links to those sermons on the newsletter. We have those taped, and then they're on YouTube, and then they're also available on the website, on the newsletter, and on Facebook. We just got a phone app also, so now people can look at their phones and click right to the calendars so that they see our calendar of events. So we try to keep all of those things available for folks to get as much information as possible. I think one of the things that we would really like to continue doing is giving information out not only to our members but to the town where we live and the surrounding areas, because we're a small congregation that's very active in our town, and we need partnerships with other churches and other and civic organizations for a lot of the missions that we do.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Next up is Ms. Stella.
Hi, my name is Stella Greenwood. I am a member of King David Christian Church in Hermanville, Mississippi. What we are doing right now is we are doing Zoom for our ministry. And as a matter of fact, my pastor is on. He couldn't get in, so he's sharing. I shared it with him. And our church is we're actually having church services on Zoom. We have been doing so since the pandemic. We're debating when we are going back into the building. but right now it's up, questionable. And that's it.
Just make sure I don't miss anybody. Devin?
Hi,
Hi.
I'm Devin Boatner, and I am from West Point, Mississippi, Northside Christian Church. We use our technology at the beginning before the pandemic. We just did the general slides on the screen with scriptures and all that to follow the pastor and his points. Every now and then for Bible study, he'll ask for a video, and that would sometimes be a little challenging because of our equipment. But when the pandemic started, we had to start going live. And I think somebody mentioned something about copyright, and sometimes we wanted to play music, but we had to end up just doing instrumental, I guess, because of the copyright, to try to get over it, because we also stream live on Facebook. We tried YouTube, not sure what happened with that, but we are having in-person service as well as streaming live on Facebook, and Bible study doing the same thing to give people the same option. I'm sorry about that, but that's about it as far as how we're using technology.
So your Bible studies on Facebook Live as well?
Pardon?
Your Bible studies on Facebook Live?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Mary Fluker? Maybe not. Ms. Bailey Dorsey?
Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
My name is Cinder, and I belong to King David Christian Church as well. My pastor is Elder Percy Terrell. Our secretary has spoken for us already, and I just came on to say good evening.
Well, thank you. Reverend Terrell, you have anything you want to add?
Yes, I pastor two churches, and I'm not familiar with technology as well as I like to be. I just know about Zoom, and that's about it. But one of my churches, we have in-person service. Most of my members are not familiar with the computers as well. So we've been having in-service ever since the pandemic. We never closed, and we never had issues, but we stayed with the CDC guidelines as well. But Zoom is about the only thing that I'm really familiar with. And I tried to do Facebook one time, but I wasn't successful, so I stayed with Zoom. But right now I'm in preschool with the computers.
Okay.
So, I'm not knowledgeable with technology. I'm way behind.
Okay, no problem. So what was the problem with Facebook Live?
Facebook, I didn't know how to send it out or get the others on. I just go in Facebook. I could do the video, but I didn't know how to get other people involved to see the Facebook page.
Okay. Thank you. I'm taking notes. Just in case you're wondering why I'm pausing and looking down. I won't remember it all. So this is my next question. If you have something that you want to chime in and say, at the end of this, what do you want to have gained from our time together? So what do you want to do with this? Because we're going to use it, right? Like we're not sitting in this room together for the sake of gathering information. you know, information plus application equals transformation, and that's our goal, right?
Amen.
Even if you implement one thing. So if you have something that you would like to share, something that's burning, you're like, I really want to be able to do this in the congregation, feel free to share. Regina has a hand up.
Yes. Specifically, we would like to be able to have a more fluid and I guess user-friendly option for our Zoom and Facebook Live, because right now we use my laptop for Zoom and my wife's phone for Facebook Live. So if either one of us are not there, then you know that's about how it's going to go. Nobody else knows how to even log in, even though I've tried to show them, but you know there's a little bit of resistance because it's so, I guess, labor intensive if you don't already have the access. Like I already had Facebook on my phone, and I already had the church's Facebook page already programmed on my phone. So if anybody else is going to do it, then they have to download the app or, you know, get access to the church's Facebook account or whatever. So if we had something where it was just a computer set up and a microphone set up where this is always going to be at the church. It doesn't matter who comes to church. There will always be somebody who can hit record or, you know, publish and be able to get a quality sound and video out to whomever would like to join.
Okay. Thank you. Now we have to get somebody else having access to that page too. They'll take something off of you. And I'm going to say this, but I'm not going to get in deep. Okay. Multiple people can have access to that Facebook page without it interrupting your personal Facebook presence. So you can have multiple people. If you don't want them to be at admin level, there are several other levels that are available through Facebook, including contributor and editor, that will allow them to go live without having complete access if you don't want them to have complete access to the page, but be able to contribute. Mary Fluker had her hand up. Oh, there she is. Mary, did you have something that you wanted to share?
She might not be connected to the audio.
Okay. Reverend Ann Pickett Parker, you put your hand up. Did you have something you want to say?
Yes, I really want to learn how to use Zoom better. When I'm doing the virtual Bible studies, I would love to be able to put questions up and all that kind of stuff.
Okay.
But I don't know how to do it. And I guess my daughters could, but they probably don't have time to come and show me. But I'd like to do that. And also, I'd like to use PowerPoint at church. I need to learn how to do that. I'm really not really good at technology. I'm just surprised that I can get on Zoom and see all of you.
Oh, we're glad you're here. You might be better than you think. Right?
I wish.
So, Ms. Fluker, if this is one more moment to say something, if you're there. Okay.
I think Bobby has her hand up as well.
Did you? Oh, I'm sorry. You just, it's Bobby.
Just kind of summarizing what I said, I want to be able to have a website, and I want to be able to live stream our worship service somehow or other. I don't even know what's the best way. YouTube, Facebook, I don't know.
Well, there are a couple of ways that we can go, and I'm going to cover that tonight, so that I figured that would probably be the most pressing. So that if nothing else, maybe between the time between like now and next week, like on Sunday or Wednesday, you guys would come back and say, hey, I did this action step. And then we're all going to cheer for each other. No, we're going to cheer. Yes. It's like you guys got paralyzed when I said action step. But okay. So we are going to get you there because we are trying to reach people that may not be in our geographic location. And there may be some that are that, aren't quite ready, or coming into the congregation may not be the safest option for them. And when you think about even what's happening with the weather, if it's hard to get to a location, due to a storm or not having power or all these other things that could pop up, if you are streaming online, then it continues to give people access. Or what if their health isn't well and they're currently in the hospital? They can still connect with their local congregation. So there are all kinds of reasons to push through what may end up being kind of uncomfortable to come to an end that could be beneficial to the community. So the first thing I'm going to discuss with you is live streaming, and we talked about it some. There are several ways that you can live stream. You can, of course, do it from your phone and going directly to social media. And several people have mentioned Facebook Live. You can also live stream through YouTube as well as LinkedIn, though LinkedIn isn't the most appropriate for it. And you can do it for hours. And I'm going to put this out here, but I'm going to touch on this later. If you have multiple platforms that you want to stream to, there are ways to do that with one device. So just because I'm mentioning multiple places doesn't mean it's going to make the work harder if you have a tool that will allow you to stream in multiple places. And there are some out there that have a nominal cost. So it won't be cost restrictive for those of you who have a grant. Okay, so my first tip for you is going to be that you're going to practice this. No, it wasn't Reverend Terrell who said that. Someone said that people are doing it and doing it really, really poorly. And it's probably because they didn't practice it. So the temptation or what people often feel when they see somebody going live is that this person picked up their phone and they turned that camera on, they clicked it, and all of a sudden they were live. And yes, that is what happens in some cases. But for congregational worship, practice will be the best thing that you can do, even if you are doing Facebook Live, because when you do Facebook, you actually have the option to practice or test first. And the way that you can do that, which I will send you notes, but the way that you can do that is when you get ready to post, if it's on your own page, you can choose that, hey, it's just me. You can choose yourself as a one-person audience to see it, so you can play around and test it without other people seeing it. If you are on your page, Facebook actually has a test option that you can select. It will also, which it's been quirky, I've tried this, Facebook will allow you to share your screen. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, depending on your browser. So that could be frustrating because you don't want anything quirky happening. But you should absolutely practice what you're doing beforehand to see how it sounds and to see how it looks. Sound is going to be massively important. You do not have to spend a lot of money to do this. You heard, Regina doing it, and she's like, we got our computer and we got our phones. You can do it from here. You really can. Some things to note. What I do, sometimes I put it on airplane mode because I don't want anybody calling, interrupting, and dropping signal. But when it comes to audio, really think about using that money for mics if you don't already have them, because the mics on your phone are not great. If you are within a few feet, it'll be fine, but it picks up all the sound the same. So if I am recording and there is somebody talking to the side of me, it's going to pick them up. If there's somebody across from me, it's going to pick them up. And the only way that I can cut them out is if I have an additional mic. Now, in a congregational setting where you have really great sound and there's equipment and you have really wonderful dynamic mics that are usually up there with the lectern, it won't be as bad. But think about this. If you're in a congregation and you have people in the pews, if Sister so-and-so is next to where the camera or your phone is set up and she whispers and asks somebody for a peppermint, other people are going to hear that. So here's a little tool. I bought this, it's a lavalier mic. I bought this years ago from a music store for a couple of $100. The great thing about this is that with an adapter, it has, let me show you what else it has with it so you kind of get an idea. There's a receiver with it. It's not hard to use. I just make sure that these two things on the same channel, it lights up like a TV. And I can actually connect that to my phone with a $10 adapter from Best Buy. Let me write that down. I need to tell you where to get this stuff from. But it was $10 and I could connect it to my phone and be across the room and have my lavalier on me, and my phone could be across the room and it's going to pick up what's coming through that lavalier. Why this matters is because the sound is going to be cleaner. So if I'm live streaming on my phone to Facebook Live, the audio that's going to be picked up is what's going to be coming through my microphone, which will decrease the chance that all that other sound that's happening is going to be picked up better than my voice. Okay? So you will have this video, but that is really, really important. The visuals are important, but that sound, if people cannot hear you, they are not going to stay tuned in. But again, you can test all of this. Try it out and have a few people in the room or somebody go outside and pull it up on their phone. I'm so glad to see that there are a couple of congregations that have multiple people. This is not a solo journey. It's a challenge if you are doing this by yourself or even with two people out of the same household. Regina, I heard you. It can be really challenging. So in your congregation, it is best to build teams, preferably from different households, because if they need to travel and everybody on that social media or that digital media team, whatever you call it, is in the same household and they need to travel, you could lose your whole team and be dead in the water, and we don't want that, okay? So more than one person and multiple people, preferably out of different households, and treat it like you would a ministry, because that is what it is. This is the group of people that's going to help the message get out to the world, where we call to make disciples. So treat it like a ministry, and facilitate it as such, with empowering them to do the work that needs to be done, but also giving them the tools that they need to actually get it done. My next thing for you is the angles. And it may seem very weird, but have you ever been on a Zoom meeting and you spent the whole time looking up somebody's nose? It is not pleasant. It's not pleasant, and they don't know it. Or because they're looking on the screen and people are talking, and this is especially for those who be on screen, people are talking, so they look at the picture of the person who's talking. And if they lean in, they're like, yes, yes, Percy, yes. And so all you're looking at is the top of my head. So you have to be conscious of being right here and looking at that little dot at the top. So when you are setting up, think about what the angle looks like. I have seen some pastors, especially when this first started, they had their phones right there on the lectern or on the pulpit with them. And so they're talking and they're all over the phone, and all people can see is like the top of their robe or their collar or right up their nose. So positioning matters. If you are going to do your services, which I've heard of combinations, if you're going to be using Zoom, then for the most part, you'll be like this. And you can actually get a laptop stand. I actually have one that you can raise or lower, or you can sit it on a table. Don't have it on your lap. And I know this sounds like, is this really necessary? It is, because it's a part of the experience of the person who's on the other side. And it may be tempting. You're at home, you're doing Bible study, not in the building anyway. I'm going to put it on my lap. I'm going to be laying in the bed. You're not going to be that comfortable, but at least put it high enough that the person sees you from here to here, just like on TV. There's a reason why the anchors sit the way they do. It's normal. You don't want to be too close where, you look like you're kissing the camera. You don't want to be super far away, and you want the sound around you to be clear and as clean as possible. If you have kids and dogs, sometimes it's a little bit harder. Go in a room by yourself, push the kids outside and put the dog in the backyard so that they're not distracting you. Because what happens, you're used to your house noise. The people who are listening are not. And you hear everything amplified when you are trying to broadcast. And some of you may have already experienced it. It's like you can hear stuff down the halls. I can hear and almost get supersonic. I'm like, oh my God, what is happening out there? Don't they know I'm in here trying to talk to people? They are distracted. I'm trying to teach. And you can't stop and say, shut up, other than the fact that that's like really rude, but it's showing on your face. And so you're not able to zone in. So the better you can insulate yourself. My husband came in, he cooked, he went in the bedroom. Like, he's not out here, because I would be watching him. What is he doing? What are you eating? Man, I'm kind of hungry. Can you bring me some of that? No, I can't eat on screen. And you have all these extra conversations. I'm a little silly if you have not noticed, but you have all these extraneous conversations and moments that won't keep you in your space. So be very aware of what the angles look like. And if it doesn't help when you're on by yourself, have somebody else be on and be another set of eyes for you, because that can really help you out. Now, when you are doing this and you decide that you're going to do this before the congregation, if you have one camera, really think about where you could place that one camera to be best. I'm not sure I think one of you may have like the 2 or 3 cameras set up, but if you have the one, focus on, of course, the pulpit, maybe even the choir stand, if you're going to be recording that, and allow the people who are not in the room to be in the space. So they see some of what's happening in the sanctuary and feel like they're more of a part of it. When you are using Zoom, I'm sure some of you have heard about Zoom bombing, where a congregation or an organization has put out their Zoom link and said, hey, join us, this is what we're doing. And there was no password, so anybody could jump on. And it's good in one way and bad in another. It's good in the fact that if you put it out that openly, then other people that may not be a part of the ministry will come in and possibly want to be a part. It's a good part. The bad part is that if somebody comes on for that has nefarious reasons, or they're trying to just be disruptive, I think it made some ministries go, okay, we're not going to do that because it could be a bad experience. Well, in Zoom, of course, yes, you can have the password. And for those who are not a part of the congregation, you can stream online where they will be able to access it without being in the room in the Zoom room with you. Another thing that you can do is have a moderator, which I would encourage you to do. If you are leading the worship service, you cannot lead and do the moderation and be the tech person. But what if somebody comments, or is it going to, that's too much to think about. You deliver the message, you have somebody else be the moderator. And what the moderator could actually do is have people in the waiting room I don't know if some of you are going on a Zoom and before you don't go immediately in, you actually have to wait. And then there's a screen that says this person has to let you in. So that's the waiting room. So they could actually let the people in the waiting room. There are settings, which I will send you, where you can actually say, okay, they can come in, but they have to be on mute. And they can't unmute unless you allow them to unmute. So they can't actually come into the space and disrupt what's happening in the worship service or in the Bible study. So there are some protective things on the back end. Another thing, because you will have that moderator, if they see that, something is happening, they can shut that person down. And so it's not something that you have to think about. It's just a matter of whether or not you pay attention to some of the settings that aren't immediately in your face, but there are ways that you can actually still have your service open and keep it as safe as possible. That's the best way I can actually phrase that. Multiple hosts is my next point. When we came on, well, many of you weren't on, but I asked Tanika to make me a host. And what that did was it allows me to share my screen. It didn't allow me to do polls, and I think it was because I wasn't in the account, but it gives me a little more functionality than you all have to be in the space. So if you have somebody that is presenting or you're doing a small group, you can actually have multiple hosts, so that if somebody else needs to be the main speaker, that can actually happen. So when you're doing your Bible study, you may have two people doing a Bible study and they're in different locations. You actually can set it up in such a way that they're both equal in the room. Does anybody have any questions at this point? No? Okay. So streaming to social. I highly encourage it. And because there are so many congregations that have hit people that they wouldn't have before. And there's just some major benefits of doing it. And one of them is, let's say you have a member on the books. You hadn't seen them in forever, but on the books, they're a member. And they are connected to your social media page. When you stream, they will get alerts, even if they have not looked at your page in 16 years. Social is not that long. With 5 years, if they had looked, they would get an alert that you were live. And they may go, oh, I remember that church. Let me see what they're doing. So it ends up giving you a little more access than you would if you only did Zoom and did not then stream the Zoom live. Now, for those of you who do not know, you can actually stream from within Zoom, and you can connect Zoom to Facebook. You can connect it directly to YouTube, and then you could connect it to Workplace, which is like Facebook's internal meeting. The option for that is actually at the bottom of Zoom. So when you scroll down to that little bottom menu, screen is a little interesting since I'm sharing right now, but if I go over to for me right now, it is showing up in the more, it's the last option on your menu with the triple dots. Do you see it? Nope, nobody sees it. Next to apps, you should see share, annotate, the apps option. No? Why does nobody see this?
I can see it if I click on the view options, which is on the top of my screen.
Okay. So I guess it depends on where your toolbar is. So if you find it.
It has annotate and
Yes. Do you see the little dots, the little triple dots that say more?
No.
Okay, it may be happening for me because I'm sharing my screen,
Yeah.
but there is an option to go live on the Facebook, live on Workplace by Facebook, and then live on YouTube. So if you select those options, it will stream for you. But within your Zoom account, you have to have connected Zoom to your Facebook page or to your YouTube page for that to be facilitated. If you don't, and I'm not talking about your personal page, you should be streaming to a page for the ministry. Because if, okay, if you stream to your personal page only, the only people who will see it are those who are actually your friends. Not everyone in your congregation is a friend of yours, most likely. If you stream to your personal page, then the people that we're talking about out in the world who could just possibly happen to fall upon your church's worship service will not be accessible to you because you will not have streamed it in a place that is publicly accessible. The third reason why you shouldn't do that is if you stream that way and you don't have that video set to public, if you only have it set to friends or friends of friends, these are all settings within Facebook, other people will not see it. It also will make managing your content far more difficult because at some point you're going to post a picture of yourself or your grandkid, and people are going to have to scroll through your personal posts in order to see posts from the church. And as somebody who has managed pages for decades, I believe in analytics. I believe in being able to see data that tells me how long somebody watched this video, how many times it was shared. And you do not get that type of information on the personal page because that is what is used by businesses to determine whether or not what they're doing is successful. So there's really no need for people on the personal side to even have that information. And if you don't post on your actual page, you will not have access to that type of data or analytics. Yes, ma'am, Regina, what's your question?
Yes, if you connect your Zoom to your Facebook and go live via Zoom and it posts, is it going to show the gallery or is it just going to show, like, you know, if we have it set up to where you can see the pulpit, the lectern, you know, it's just going to show that? Because I've tried like recording Zoom and then posting that, but then it showed, you know, everybody's name who was in church. And I'm like, I don't think everybody wants to be posted up on Facebook with
Okay.
their Zoom names.
So let me ask this. When you are recording, you know how it gives you the option to record to your computer or record to Zoom? Where are you recording?
The one time I did it, I recorded to my computer.
That's the problem.
Okay.
Okay, so when you go and say record to Zoom, when you actually go into your Zoom account and go under your recordings, you will see several options. So it will give you, like I'm showing a PowerPoint, it would give you presentation view, it would give you speaker view, it would give you, and I hope that this one, I actually did not say it, I'm glad you asked this. I hope that this one's being recorded to the cloud, which is Zoom, because you can download those other options. You can also just pull out audio. It will just record just the audio, which is fantastic. If you ever want to use that content again, like if any of you decide, I really want to have a podcast, it's already doing it for you. So instead of you then sending the audio, sending the video file to someone, and video files get really large, and then having them strip away the video and then give you back the audio, and then going to upload it, cut steps out for you. So that's going to be your best bet. It's just having it record straight to Zoom's cloud, and then going in and downloading and choosing which one you actually want, like which view you actually want. Because the recording straight to the computer only gives you that one option. Another thing that I think is great with Zoom is that it makes those files super, super small. They are tiny. They're even smaller than if you go straight to Facebook and then download the files, which is something that you can do. Like if you go Facebook Live, you can actually go in and then download those files. And if you're wondering why you would want to do that, it's so that you can actually repurpose. Keeps you from having to create content over and over again. I mean, most of you are teaching and preaching right out of God's word. It does not expire. So you can always use that information again. And if you want to use it for archival purposes, or if you live stream directly to Facebook and one day you say, I really want my congregation to have a YouTube channel, or we already have one, then you can take that same file and go right over to YouTube and press upload. And it's, it's not multiple steps. So, really take advantage of the fact that you have tons of content. Or if I'm not going to say that. I'm going to keep that example to myself. You might not like that one. But there are multiple things that can be done with video files and audio files that you already have. Even if it's something as, endearing as, one of your congregational members is in the military and they're off far away and they don't feel connected. They can't get online, and you can put your services on a disc and send them to them without them having to deal with the Wi-Fi, or missionaries or whomever isn't in your current space. There are just a lot of ways that you can use it. So even if you decide, Chandra, at the end of this, whenever the pandemic is over and things are fully wide open, I don't ever want to do this again, I will say to you, still record for archival purposes. This is historical data. How many times has somebody either left a ministry or God forbid, passed away, and you're going, man, I wish that we had these other moments. Or what if you want to do an anniversary video and you have all these clips that you can actually put together to celebrate this person's ministry? So there are a lot of reasons why you should stay in this space, even if you don't have to be in this space. So, but streaming to social, you should do it. They're just ways to do it, and I'm going to discuss some of those. My last thing is visuals. When people are face to face with you and they get to feel your energy, you don't have to rely on visuals as much. In this space, use them. They help to add to the experience. We can't in church, when we say open your Bibles to, even if the person didn't bring a Bible, we know they can get one off the pew. At home, you might want to assume that everybody has a Bible, but they may not. If they are just dropping in for the first time and church really wasn't their thing, they may not have NRSVs floating all around. So you can actually use visuals to tell them the scripture reading to go to. You can give them lyrics to the songs, and I will talk about licensure. You can show them images. Like if you actually went out and did some outreach in the community, and now you have pictures and you want to show the work that you did, and this is the impact that we have in the community, this would be an opportunity to share that. Caveat, if you are sharing pictures of people that you did not pull from like stock images, get their permission. Yes, they are members of the congregation. I totally understand that. That does not mean that you have carte blanche over their image. So ask them, are you okay with this? And me personally, I would say, sign your name on this release form. That lets me know that you're okay with this. So 2 years down the road, you won't say, well, I didn't want you to do that anyway, and you didn't get my permission, and now I'm suing the church. Well, no, because you wrote your name right here, and you said that you were okay with us using your image in this way. Okay. It's kind of better to get that information on the front end so that you don't end up taking pictures of people and then later find out that they didn't want their image used, and then you're not able to use that. So always get permission, because even though some of us are called and to be public, not everybody is. Okay, so being online has changed how we can interact with one another, but it doesn't mean that you can't engage at all. So when you're doing your Zooms, actually, I'm going to pause right here. I'm going to give you guys 5 minutes. Thank you for coming back on time. At least for those I can see, like the other people, they might not even be there. Okay, so now we are going to, does anybody have any questions before I go on? No. It's just too much. Nobody's saying it's too much. So, okay, so I think we're good. So engagement. It is going to be tough to replace what people experience when they come into the congregation live. So just know that it's not, no amount of talking is going to feel the same as a hug. But you can create moments that create community so that people don't feel like I'm just staring at this screen. So one of the ways that you can do that is by doing passing of the peace. So this is better, of course, if you're using Zoom. If you are trying to do this on social media, of course, it's going to be text, unless you create a room in Facebook. I don't know if I want to get into that, but it would primarily be text if you're on social media, just telling people, say pass the peace, encouraging them to comment, because the commenting will keep them engaged and they'll just put that in. If they are in Zoom, then what you could do is you can either open all their mics, and this is possible depending on the size of your congregation. If you can have a passing of the peace and it's only a few people and everybody can say, peace be you and unto you. If not, if there's too many people in your congregation to do this and it doesn't end up feeling like a melee, then what you could do is create breakout rooms. I don't know if any of you have tried breakout rooms, but it is a function in Zoom. And when you click breakout rooms, it will actually push the people into separate rooms. Have any of you been in a breakout room in Zoom? Hands raised if you have. Okay. For those who, let's see. This is something that I wish I could actually show you on screen. But when you create a breakout room, when you click that option, which I don't think it will let you do from here because you're not a host, you can actually determine the number of rooms that are made. And you can either assign them manually, meaning that you choose who's in the room, or you let it automatically assign. You could also give the participants the option to choose what room they want to be in. Now, when you do that, you can also set the time limit. So it will, which I may do this here just so you can experience it for those who hadn't. It pushes you out into a room. It says you're getting sent to a breakout room. You accept. You go into the breakout room and it ends up being a much smaller group of people. And when the time is up, you will see a timer. It'll be a warning. You got a minute. Then when that minute hits, it starts counting down. And then you come back into the larger room with everyone else. Let's see, how many people do we have? So I'm gonna shoot you in there just so you can see what it looks like. You're not gonna be in alone.
So now I have to learn how to do the breakout room.
And it would give, when you're having conversations, sometimes people don't talk in the larger group, or, like I said, if it's a lot of people, it could be a little bit harder to control, but they can go into those smaller groups and have more private conversations, or a debrief about what they've heard that they may not be able to do in the larger room. And even if you did something that was, something for married couples, and you just put you split up the spouses, that could be an option. So there are different ways that you can actually utilize it. But it definitely comes in handy with allowing people to participate more in the conversation. Because when you get, 20 or 30 people, not everybody's going to be talking at the same time. It ends up being just too much noise, and trying to figure out who's available to talk and trying not to talk over each other. This is one of the ways that you can actually have conversation and allow people to be more actively engaged. So beyond that, then there is also really being prepared in your services. And the more that you're prepared, the more that the congregation can be prepared. And that is by, sending them links to the lyrics. If you are not able to share a screen online, go ahead and sending things to people so that they can actually be prepared to sing the songs and participate in the worship service. Even though they can't hear it, you won't have everybody on singing. And do have some advice against doing that. Not everybody's connection speed is the same. So it's not like you'll be singing as a choir. Somebody may be ahead, somebody may be behind. So it may not be the most harmonious experience. So you can send them the lyrics, send them the scripture reading so they can be prepared if you're not going to share it on the screen. If you do opt to share on the screen, be mindful of the size of your text, because even though many people will probably be, sitting in front of a computer, which has, of course, a much larger screen, you may have some people who will be watching on their phones, because, of course, Zoom, Facebook, YouTube are all accessible on the phone. So just because they're watching you doesn't mean that they're doing it from an actual computer screen. So just be mindful to make the text large enough that they can actually read it and fully participate if you're not going to send them the lyrics particularly. When you are sharing outside of Zoom and somebody makes a comment, reply. That is part of building community. That is the social part of social. It can sometimes be the less fun part, depending on what the comments are. But look at it as an opportunity to build relationship. So when you put up a picture on your personal page and somebody says, "Happy birthday," you will most likely, after your birthday is over, go back and reply and say thank you. Similar context. The reason why you're doing that is because, oh, my friend said something. These people may not be your friends yet. They may be trying to become that. And the way to get them there is by acknowledging their existence when they say something to you. You may also discover that some people may have questions about the service or something that they've heard. If you are leading the worship and somebody is commenting, you can't look. So this is where friends come in. I put moderator at the bottom, but it's appropriate now. Have somebody monitoring that information. because some of the comments may be tech issues and you don't want to get to the very end of your service. And what the people have been saying is, I can't hear you. So elect somebody else to be looking at that for you on social so that they can handle those questions. Or it may be, how do we donate? How do we tithe? They can be putting that information in. But absolutely reply to the comments. If you see some unfamiliar names, welcome. Thank you for coming. The next opportunity is this, because that could be the Bible study, or it could be something in the community. So use that as an opportunity of outreach ministry. It just looks a little different. Encourage your members to take pictures. We're not in shared space, some of us. So if they're doing something at home or they're all sitting around and you're, presiding over the table, have them take, well, no, not at the table, after it's over, have them take a picture, but have them take a picture at worship or whatever they're doing. My family and I have been like watching on screens for 2 years now. I've never thought about taking a picture, but this is why you should ask them to take pictures. Because it's content. This is the social media manager side of it. It is content. It is content. And content is really important when it comes to social media. It is also important when it comes to documentation. You may look back on this and we're all going to laugh in 10 years and the kids will have that story and say, I lived through a pandemic. Like their grandparents used to say how they had to walk through snow. And you'll have documentation of it. See how we all stayed a community even though we were far apart? This is what I'm doing at home. And people can actually share their pictures of how they are worshiping and continuing to be connected to the community, even though they cannot sit in the room together. And that could be moments of discovery. And last, but certainly not least, have a moderator. Have a moderator. And your moderator will go and look at those comments for you, even when the service is over. It is really important. I don't know if any of you have been scrolling through social media and going, wow, that person said like the most awful thing I've ever seen in my life. Moderators, get rid of those types of comments. So moderation is really important. Have somebody do that for you. Now, when you are developing this team of people, I will encourage you not to just say, let's give it to the teenagers because they're on social media, they like tech, it will be easy. Not every teen knows and likes it. And this is, if the teenager is mature, then I can see giving them a piece of this. If they are not, do not. Without an adult. Either way, have an adult, like a mature, seasoned Christian who knows how to engage, particularly when you have to comment back with a, let me just say it like this. You don't want somebody moderating that's going to pop off. You know what pop off means? That means, for those who are shaking their heads, you don't want somebody that's going to get angry, who's going to express that anger and possibly use expletives. You don't want that. So be discerning in who you choose to be your public face in that space. Okay. You also want somebody who's going to write and complete sentences. Now, I know that I might sound, I'm not going to say what I don't want to offend anybody. I know that there are some people who don't write in complete sentences or capitalize the first letter of words or use punctuation. They are out there. For those of you who are like, oh my God, what is she saying? It happens. I read it sometimes and go, man, for the younger generation, that's cool. That is fine. They get it. They are processing it with all the stuff that we think is supposed to be in there. However, if you are presenting a youth ministry, that would be okay, because that demographic is going to totally understand that. They're going to be able to tell that it's another team that's writing, and they're going to feel connected. I do not write like that. I would not present a church, the fuller body, like that. And because of the perception that I'll say the generation right under me and above have when it comes to being able to articulate and write well, ensure that the people that you have in those types of positions can write well. Okay? You don't want people scrolling through going, oh my God, they don't even know how to speak, or what is that? Because some of the acronyms that are used in texting that some of the younger people are translating into how they just write all the time can be difficult to understand if you don't already know the acronyms. So just keep that in mind when you're putting people in this role. It is, even though it's technical, it is connected to a spiritual reality. So still give that process to God, just like you would if you were trying to determine who should be the next pastor, who should be on this team, because they are helping to disseminate the message of Christ. And so their role is important. Okay. So it is possible, and I've mentioned this a couple of times in passing, that you can actually live stream to multiple places and with one device and one account. I use a service called StreamYard, and I'm actually going to show it to you so that you can see what I'm talking about and some of the controls that it has. It's not the only service. So I ended up picking up this service because I have multiple social media accounts on different platforms. And I didn't want to have to stream over here and then stream over in this one and then stream over that one. So this is what the back end of it looks like. And other people don't see this. Like the people who are looking at your broadcast don't see it. Everything you send out is called a broadcast. And I have the option to test. So I have my test when they've been deleted. But it's a really simple tool. At this point, all of my accounts are connected. As you can see over here, the bottom option, it has members, so multiple people can be on the team and using the same account. At the very bottom there, you see I have used 2.4 of 50 hours. So it will actually store the recordings. So whenever I hit live, just like Facebook does a recording, this platform also does a recording. So I click video and I see all of my videos. When I am able to be super faithful, I do video 2, maybe 3 times a week. So I can see all of my videos, and those little icons tell me where I sent that video from here. So Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, all of my accounts are connected. So I just hit record, or broadcast, it goes to all three places for me. Another thing that it does is if somebody comments while I am live, regardless of where they comment from, it brings it into the broadcast and I can respond from within this platform. So I don't have to go find the comment, or I don't miss a comment because I didn't know that it was there because I could only see Facebook. So if I'm streaming to Facebook and I have this picking up the feed, I will only see what's coming off Facebook. But if I'm in here, I can see everything. This next option is destinations. So you just hit add a destination. You choose the platform that you want. And on Facebook, you have all three options, whether or not you're going to a group. Your personal profile is your personal page. And Facebook page would be a business page, so a page for the church. I don't know if I need to hit this or not, but if I do, just say in the comments, I need you to touch on that. When you create a page for Facebook, if you go to the page and it says add friends, that's a profile. That is what the individual creates for themselves. Do not create your church or ministry account as a profile. The options for a page are like or follow. I will show you what I'm talking about. I'm a visual learner, so I will let you see what it looks like to keep it from being, to hopefully make it easier. So if I said I was going to connect this to a page, it's going to ask, I'll say connect. These are the pages that I have access to. This is the one that's already connected. It's that one and that page. Those are the only ones I actually still stream to. All these other ones, I don't really stream to them. I've either managed them before, or, I'm staying connected because I know the person that is connected to it may not have another person, and I don't want them to end up losing connection. And if they ever say, I can't get in, I can say, I can. So I'm serving as a backup. But because I don't actually want to stream any of these, I'm not going to accept this, but all I would have to do is just click. Okay, so that's how easy it is. If you probably have to put your password in. This is my machine, so my password is already in there. I'm already connected. But for the first time, you end up having to put in your password. So let's say we were going to do a broadcast. We would just come right here and we would click broadcast, and we have two options: a new broadcast or something that is pre-recorded. Now, let's say you're pastoring this church and you're going to be out of town and you don't have a supply. You could actually pre-record your sermon, upload it here, and tell it where to go. So we're going to do my test page. We're going to tell it where to go. We're going to name it something. We're going to put it in the description. We're going to choose the time. The default for this program is to go to the next day. But if you want it to happen earlier, you can change that just by clicking on the calendar and choosing the time. You have to give it at least 10 minutes on Facebook. And then you would click select the recording and you go find the file. And just, hold on, let me see if I have something. Okay, we'll do this one. So that should be quick because it's a pretty short file. But after it does the uploading, well, it should be, but I'm using some of my bandwidth for the Zoom, so we'll see. After it finishes this process, I would just share it because I've already scheduled it. You see where it says schedule an announcement post? I can actually create a post and put up an image, tell it when I want the announcement to be posted, and that will create a little file on those social media platforms that says, LaShondra is going to go live at this time. So it's like putting out an announcement, a little bulletin on these platforms, but that's not required. Let's see. Oh, it's not ready. We're going to stop this because I don't want to take that time. So let's just choose this. I chose a past broadcast, which I actually would not do. But if you have something and you say, oh, I really want to replay that, you can go pull a past one and put it in. And I've already scheduled it. And I can hit my little create and it shows up. It's going to be a pre-recorded video. It's going to Facebook. If I scroll over, it tells me the page. Once it actually happens, I can click the status. Now, there are other capabilities in this program. Like I was doing this podcast for a while, which I'm going to start doing again, where I was actually interviewing people. And so they could come in the studio and I would be on one side and they'd be on the other. And you could actually do that if you wanted to, if you had a guest pastor, if you wanted to talk to somebody about their ministry. That's actually something that you could do. Let's see.
Is StreamYard free or is it a fee a month?
There is a free version. They probably would not want to use the free version. Who said that?
Nika.
Okay. I thought it was you, but I didn't want to assume, and then you were back on mute. There is a free version, but it limits the length. And I think it's short, like 15 minutes, I think. I think there's a limitation to the length and the number of places that you can actually stream. But what do I pay for this? It's less than $30 a month. I don't remember what I paid. That's probably not good, but it's less. It's not cost prohibitive. So yeah, but there is a fee. I don't know if I can. Let's see. No, let me just search for it. Okay, so $25 is what I pay. So yeah, you can do it for free. It has their branding. And so what that means is that their little duck will be on your videos. And the limit is 20 hours a month. So if you're okay with the little duck, I wasn't okay with the duck. So that's why I bumped up. And I also wanted that multi-stream. You see that multi-stream destination? Being able to go to different platforms at the same time. I wanted that. So you could actually do it with the little duck. And but there will be some functionality you won't be able to do, like the pre-recording. But if you just want to test it and play with it and see if you actually like it, it won't cost you anything to just play around with it. Any questions about StreamYard? Like I said, there are some other tools out there. This one I find to be really, really easy to use. You can also use it from the browser on your phone. So if you wanted to, if you were taking the option of, I see you, Regina. If you were taking the option of live streaming from your phone, as opposed to getting a camera, then you could open up StreamYard here on your phone and put that phone on the tripod Sorry. I hit something.
But I love these rooms. It is one of the free spaces that are kind of left on the internet where people can give it to you. And I like the quote from last time.
Okay, so if you put your phone on a tripod, which we're going to have tripods, right? Because we're not going to expect somebody to stand and hold the phone for the length of a service, right? So let me tell you about this tripod. But once you do that, you can hit stream, and I can just set it up, hit stream straight from my phone. I can have my phone connected to the microphone I showed you earlier, and we're golden. You do need to have really good Wi-Fi. So this tripod I had in college. I know that was a long time ago. And that was before people were recording with their phones. So I tell you that because if you have an old tripod, you might not have to buy a new one, because if you get a mobile phone mount, it should fit the cam head that's already on the top, because they're usually universal. See a little screw, little tiny screw on there, fits in there. It's for my phone. But this tripod is from my UCF days. Back in the So if you have an old tripod back in your garage, you might still be able to use it if your cam head still functions. If you are recording and you're not always going to be far away from the camera, they do have these really small ones. This one is okay. It's okay. Sometimes, like, if I don't balance my phone properly, it will tilt it over. So that's why I say it's just okay. Got a lot of toys, but this is where I live. So does anybody have any questions about streaming to multiple platforms? Does anybody feel like they just want to turn off their screens and run away from their computers right now? Oh no. Thank you for your honesty. Let me say this. Daggers. Okay, let me say this. It is one step at a time. You do not have to, make this transformation all on Sunday and have a bunch of equipment running around. It's not. It may feel like you are behind the curve because you aren't already firing on all cylinders the way that you want to be. But you are not behind the curve. You are where you're supposed to be at this moment. And so we are going to take these steps together. And it's okay if you leave going, oh my God, that was a lot. Sometimes what we learn is a lot, but that's because this is the first time you've heard it. When we come back again, I will probably say some other things that you have not already heard. But I am here for you to ask whatever questions you need to ask. And this change does not need to happen overnight. And that is okay. You will be taking steps into this. Even if it feels like a small step, it's still a step. It's still progress. So we're going to celebrate the progress, even this moment, because you chose to show up in a space to have a conversation about something that is unfamiliar to you. And just your openness to even entertain the conversation, to say, I want to expand what our ministry is doing so that we can be of service to more people, is something to celebrate. Okay? So celebrate this as it's a win. It is a win. I have my list of things to send you. And we're just gonna try and we're gonna see what works. And you know what? If you do something and it doesn't work, delete it. And it's okay. Because you tried it. And the more you try, the better you will get at it. Extend yourself some grace. The same grace that you would extend to a little baby that was learning how to walk. That baby's going to fall over and over and over again. And the one thing that you will not say to that child is stop trying. You will encourage the try. So I am encouraging your try. Because at some point, you're going to be walking. Then at another stage, you're going to be running. We have 10 minutos. We got 10 minutes left. Does anybody have a question?
Yes, I do.
Yes, sir.
First, I'd like to say thank you to all the people that joined in. Think of how many people needed to be here. And some of us chose to be here, and we might be overwhelmed, but I can say, you know, when we went online with just a recorded short message, we eventually added the praise band, we eventually added lyrics, we eventually added words for the scripture, and we just learned as we went. And it got better and better, but you know, I still got a lot more to learn. But one thing I want to ask is my concern now is how we develop our worship itself for the digital media. Because I expect we should not be sharing joys and concerns, you know, about personal people online, you know, and we have the equipment coming to do the multiple platform thing, and we're trying to figure out, well, what do? We push, so we can push a button and stop it, but does that stop everything for a minute? Because our real concern is we want to be concise and we want to keep people's attention. And if you have a lot of dead time, a lot of pan and empty seats, you know, that kind of thing's not going to help. People are going to go elsewhere. They're not going to watch. So we need to be aware of our digital audience and what they need to know, which might not seem obvious. The church speak that we all know, they don't know.
Right, that's true.
And we need to be able to keep their attention. And that means something, you know, during the pandemic, we started picking up communion on the way in. We have a treasury box instead of passing the plate. And we're thinking that needs to continue for our digital audience, for all of us, because of the time factor. But on the other hand, some of our people say, you know, and I'm an elder myself, communion is the #1 thing in our worship service as disciples. And we don't want to rush that. So I'm trying to figure out how we can be concise and keep people's attention without all that dead time space of people taking communion. I don't expect an answer tonight necessarily, but we'll see you again, right?
You will. You will
Yeah.
see me next week. And I understand the importance of the table.
Yeah,
So
and
I
how
will-
can we show that's important while nothing is really happening, you know, if that's the case. So
Okay, let me ponder that for you.
we'll ponder together. Thank you.
You're welcome. I'll think about that tech side too, as far as the pausing. I'll think about that. How to stay, because if you pause, I think about whether or not there's the option to pause.
Yeah.
Because on some of the platforms, if you hit that button, you've stopped the stream.
That's what I figured, and that's worse than, you know.
Right, because they feel like
we also thought about doing joys and concerns beforehand, or however, you know, modifying when we share that, maybe even worship starts.
Even you're doing it before.
Yeah.
Or which I conflicted. So I'm going to think about that one too.
Mm-hmm.
Or using your Zoom Bible study as the place for that. as opposed to having it streamed online. Because you'll be mentioning people's names. If you, yeah, let me think about that. But I have the same apprehension about mentioning people's personal concerns so publicly.
I think that's probably just as illegal as not getting their permission to take a picture of it.
Yeah, at least on the ethical side. Yeah. Let me think about that. Because it may have to show up in another space. I'm sorry, did somebody else have something?
Bobby had her hand up.
I'm sorry, say that again.
Bobby has her hand up.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bobby, what's your question?
Would it be better to be using an iPad to record other than your personal iPhone?
Or does it matter?
Or does it matter?
Either way, as long as it has the capability to for Wi-Fi access. But either would be fine. I mentioned the phone because it's a lot more people have it. They carry around in their pockets. And so it wouldn't be them having to get another tool if they didn't have the financial capability to do so. But yeah, you could use iPad as well. And they have, there are camera mounts for them as well. You might have to get a different tripod though, because I'm not sure. I've never tried putting an iPad on this one.
Yeah, I think we also have to remember the difference between live streaming and then recording, something and posting it later or for later viewing. I think for us, where we're at right now, just the ability to maybe record something and then put it, maybe just the sermon, to start with something simple. Bobby says no, but looking at something short, simple as a recording to post it maybe in Facebook or on your website or something like that. But then again, I agree that there are going to be some problems in trying to deal with live streaming. There's a number of churches that do it. I just don't know how they do it. I don't know how they get around all the ethical, the legal copyrights and all that, but there are a number of churches that do that. Even before live streaming, there were a number of churches would actually have a TV production and then would play it on TV. And again, those were still some of the same issues that they had to face with that as compared to what we would do as a live stream situation. So I agree that there's some questions and some things that really have to be considered and looked at from a standpoint, but
to be continued next week.
Yes, to be continued.
One of the things that I do intend to talk about is licensing, and how to deal with sharing copyrighted information, and the platforms will shut you down and Facebook is really proficient at picking up when copyrighted material is being shared, and they will silence your video. Or not allow it to be played. So I do have that as something I'm going to discuss next week.
Sounds good. Thank you.
But on the recording, I do want to touch on this. You can absolutely record, and there are some congregations that are recording the sermon and uploading it, and so if you're using StreamYard, that would be the pre-recorded video. What you can do, even if you don't use a service like StreamYard, let me tell you what StreamYard does. When you put it in as pre-recorded and you say it's going to go live at this time, it streams it as if it's a live video, even if it's pre-recorded. So, but if you say, okay, I don't want to do StreamYard, we'll just, upload it, then you can upload that file to YouTube, and tell YouTube, this is when I want it to be live. And it will wait. It will hold that video until that time. And then when that time comes, it will be accessible on the time you choose. So you could choose your worship time as the time of the premiere for that video. And you can actually do the same thing with Facebook. If you upload, you can tell Facebook, hold this video until this time, and it will do that. What I will say is one of the benefits of live, particularly when it comes to Facebook, is that the algorithm, I'm not going to get in deep on this, but Facebook likes live videos. So it puts more resources, for lack of a better term, it puts more resources behind it, and it pushes out live videos more. So even if you pre-record, if I had to choose, I would pre-record and then treat it as a live so that Facebook would favor it, because it favors live videos over uploaded videos. But that is an option. We got like 30 seconds left. I don't know how many seconds, but we're at 8:59. But we're at 9 now. I'm going to honor your time unless somebody has a question. If you think of something between, now and next, let's say next Wednesday. So if I have to research something, I'll have time to do so. Next Wednesday, midday. If you have a question, you can send me a message. I am everywhere, literally. I am on Facebook. I am on Instagram. I am on YouTube. You can't send me a message on YouTube. I am on LinkedIn. My name is the same. I think I use pictures. Well, no, I don't use the same picture in all of them, but you'll see this face. If you need to send me a message, or if you have a question, just send it to me. I will most likely touch on it when we're all gathered, because somebody else may need that answer. But if nothing else, it'll give me a chance to prepare and at least have that answer for you. So thank you all for your attention. I hope that this has been helpful. I will be gathering the information that I mentioned, as I was going along and saying, I'm going to tell you about that. I'm going to send you that. I'm going to show you that. I made a list for myself during our break to make sure that I actually do that, and make sure that you have the resources that you need as we move forward. Well, thank you. Thank you for those who are dropping comments in the chat. I appreciate it. I look forward to hearing how things go. Here's your assignment if you choose to take it. For those of you who are not live streaming, I want you to try it. Even if it's just a little video that you do of yourself, you just pick up your phone and you just click that Facebook Live button. And you can even tell them, I have nothing to say. I am just doing this for an assignment to say that I did it. Because if nothing else, it would get rid of maybe some of the nervousness that you have about entering into this space. But you won't have to do it directly on your church's Facebook page. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I have enjoyed spending some time with you. Have a blessed week and a fantastic worship service this coming Sunday.